And then the news gives other people the credit. The point is they don't want to give us credit because we're the ones that broke the MIAC report. I still got folks telling me that wasn't real. They called Homeland Security. They've admitted it. But it says the veterans are terrorists, period. It doesn't just say disgruntled. It says people buying guns and ammo are terrorists. It says the people hoarding these and buying them. Now you hear that term arsenal everywhere. And they keep raiding people and arresting them for having like 10 guns. And I'll check the state where they're arrested. There's no law against the 10 guns. Folks, the persecution of gun owners is going on, but then they do go on in the article and admit that, really retracting themselves again, that the white supremacist that shot the cops, now this could even getting questionable, looks like it may be a setup, certainly the one in New York was, and we have the evidence of that now, very chilling, is that the Southern Poverty Law Center, within hours of that shooting, fed my name from the police with what he'd searched. This has now come out. And he searched hundreds of sites. They chose me. And he'd been on Fox News. It's now, the list has been released. He'd been on Associated Press. He'd been on Drudge. Folks, think about that. The police are there. Southern Poverty Law Center's on the phone with them or in person, and they tell them, Alex Jones, get him. And then the attacks start. What does that say to you?
Well, it says, obviously, we're being effective. I mean, I think it was in 2004, 2006 when they admitted that they were going to up their Pro game to include CENTCOM and be more active in the internet world, whether that be forums or on YouTube.
Oh, billions of bucks to the Pentagon alone.
They spent a lot of money, and it just says, we're at the center of the attack. We're in the crosshairs. What can you do when you have, I guess, the #1 alternative media website, when we are the ones breaking these domestic terror documents? And especially, I think people really need to look at that 215-page Virginia terrorism threat assessment document. It clearly states it doesn't want the media getting a hold of this. It goes county by county. It openly talks about conducting surveillance on citizens that really have no priors whatsoever. In the beginning, they try to define terrorism as a violent act or a threat of a violent act to have a political, gain or something.
Well, they clearly associate owning guns and ammo. They clearly state it
anti-abortionists,
with killing police. Now, I want to make this point because I forgot to make it earlier. Yeah, here it is. Homeland Security to train cops to combat roadside bombs. And that was reported in Wired magazine in a secret report suppressed by U.S. defense chiefs and obtained by the Observer in England because they basically believe that U.S. troops are going to come back and bomb American citizens. Now, this is May 14, 2008. Just this report I have here, it's at INFOWARRIOR.com, showing how we're on top of things, but it's links to Wired magazine and others. So, and then I talked to cops, and they said, oh, yeah, they're saying the military is our #1 threat. Well, see, police, what are the police mainly made up of? Military. It's you. They're worried about you not following orders to confiscate guns, send people to FEMA camps, and they're going to try to divide out the police and military that will go after the American people and turn you against the police and military that won't go along with it. And they plan to get rid of the police and military by marching them off into a fight against the American people. And you can see how this psyop is now unfolding. And watch, when the roadside bombs start, and I've noticed there's already been some bombings around the country, and they're being very, very quiet about who's doing it. And that's because they like to stage fake terror attacks they don't announce. But then they internally use that in intelligence reports to scare police and military. Okay? So this is a very sophisticated psyop they're engaged in. But when they start publicly bombing everything, remember, my God, Homeland Security starts training the police in every town and city, creating that federal nexus with military. That's the takeover, that there's going to be military bombing you, U.S. military. The military's terrorist. You can't trust them. We got to disarm the former vets. We've heard that. They're mentally ill. Mm-hmm. And then right on time, the bombings start. Mm-hmm. You see how that psyop works?
And meanwhile, they'll just diagnose anybody they want with PTSD and say that they're mentally ill and that they're a threat. But, that same person with PTSD, as long as he was willing to go along with the program and re-enlist or maybe join a Blackwater squad, well, he'll be welcome with open arms, Alex.
But if he wants to come back to America and have his Second Amendment, doesn't want to be taxed at 80%, he's now a terrorist. And that's why they give the troops, this has been documented, soft kill bioweapon shots that have the cancer viruses in them that have been genetically engineered to trigger once someone's hormone levels get to a certain point that depending on male or female, on average is at a certain age, 55, 65, right around that area. And this has come out. So police and military, I know that's hardcore to hear, but it's the truth. The globalists see you as the number one enemy. And that's what I started realizing in the last few years. Why do they show all these videos of police brutality, which are terrible? Why does the media hype it up if they want a police state? Because they want to turn the people and the police and the military against each other so they can play us off against each other, and then so the public will support Night of the Long Knives purges like Hitler did of the police and military. Survivalistseeds.com. You can now grow your own healthy food for just 4 pennies a pound and break free of the New World Order. You need to get self-sufficient, folks. These people are vicious. They're shutting things down. Survivalist Seeds has now drastically reduced their price on heirloom seeds to the lowest out there. Survivalistseeds.com. Get 6,000 heirloom seeds for a really low price. Be sure and check it out. There's a real heirloom seed shortage right now, so people interested in growing their own healthy food need to get their heirloom seeds now and start their gardens this spring. Freedom starts with action. Survivalistseeds.com is how you survive the world economic collapse that the globalists are engineering. We are back live. The new media, tip of the spear in the fight against the globalists. What are we trying to do? Get the people to rediscover the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, and true liberty. And nothing's going to get fixed. We can blame Obama all day long for things. If we attack him as if he really has power and is running something, that builds into the phony left-right illusion, that builds into the puppetry, the marionettes, the Shakespearean theater we're seeing. If we attack the bankers, the superstructure, the internal elite system, both the internal and the exterior, the entire architecture of the New World Order, and make that connection, that's what devastates them. So that's why Fox News and others are coming in and basically saying they founded the Tea Parties, while the left comes out and says they founded the Tea Parties. What I want Kurt Nimmo to do, and he can look this up, I remember about 8 months ago, as they were building towards the bailout, 7.5 months ago, they had giant tea parties right here in Austin, Texas, with 9/11 Truth against the bailout, dumping tea off the Congress bridge and off other bridges.
Yeah.
I remember them having them in D.C. It was the Ron Paul Liberty Movement, our listeners, 9/11 Truth.
I'll go even one further. Back in 2005, when you held that L.A. conference, I believe the first one was with the 9/11 Commission. They had a huge book that was dressed up like the book and it had holes in it, and that's where they dumped it into the San Francisco Bay. It's got to be either 05 or 06.
Exactly. Well, no, I mean, before that, year after year, starting in 2004, up until today, every 9/11 in Boston, they do that tea party. Yeah. And yes, that's where 9/11 Truth in Austin, they asked me to come down to it, a bunch of groups, Ron Paul Meetup, 9/11 Truth. They all went down and did that. They had a march. I was told like 500 people showed up. So that built, and they said, and I had to, in all fairness to Fox, I was listening to O'Reilly driving in on XM, and he had a guest on saying, so the media is saying Fox News is the only ones that set this up. See the lie? Acting like they're part of it from the start. No, they weren't. They were attacking Ron Paul then. They were going after us then. And see, but again, all these listeners said, oh, Ron Paul didn't win the presidency. We wasted our millions of dollars. We wasted putting up the signs. No. People went and found out Ron Paul was a gateway, like a gateway drug, marijuana into harder drugs.
A nexus point.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's symbiotic, and so now it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So they're having to address it with Rick Perry coming out and saying he wants to fight the New World Order, basically, and fight tyranny. We have another governor coming up. This is really creepy, out of South Carolina. We're going to play that coming up in the next segment. Tell folks about this, Jason.
Yeah, somebody sent this to me, and I think actually it was Tim in the office, and he said, you got to check this out around 6:30. So he, again, is talking about every politician's jumping on the bandwagon. We need less taxes, and our forefathers were right. Everybody cheers. And then all of a sudden he's like, he brings up how this nation is a Christian nation. And then he does something very bizarre. He goes into his back pocket of his dollar bill. The all-seeing eye of God watching us and building us, Nordos Ordo Seclorum, and it's all Masonic. Guaranteed, if you look this governor up. But he acts like it's Christianity. I mean, come on.
Well, no. That's the higher level thing. That's how they suck in the low-level Masons. Yeah. But if you listen to him, it's the all-seeing eye of God. It's there, but we came out of Egypt. This is the great contest, the balance of how you have the people fighting with the state. That's what creates it, with God's eye directing us out of the pyramid, out of Egypt. And he starts going off into all of this. So that's coming up. But let's get back, because I want to call some of the guys in before we do this after the break. Get back to what you witnessed, because Rob Jacobson's upset. He's saying there was like little neocon groups giving him little T-shirts and that it was a total co-oping. But remember, Fox could only be in California, Texas, and Atlanta. Cavuto's in California, Becky in Texas, Atlanta. They're there to hold down the different sectors of the Patriots and co-opt them as Benedict Arnold's. But there were other events all over the country, and they were anti-New World Order.
Yeah, absolutely. And there was, the We Are Change groups and the people against the Real ID Act out there as well. I mean, there was some patriots out there.
You said they were handing out Obama deceptions.
Oh my God. They probably handed out more Obama deceptions than I did Loose Change Final Cut. I mean, they had maybe 500. It looked good, and they handed out, a lot of people took them. So that's always a positive, getting out there. There were people in the tyranny response team.
That's right. How many of the Loose Change Final Cuts out of there did we give them?
Well, because I had to carry them myself and the thing, I think I handed out about